Re-
All right, we'll call to order the very first village board meeting at the Lisbon Village Hall on Monday, February 13th, 2023 at 6:35 PM. Roll call, please.
Chairman Osterman. It
It is technically
it
here.
is technically. Supervisor Moonen,
Here.
Supervisor Beal. Here. And Supervisor Quinn.
Here.
Supervisor Plotecker is absent and excused. Administrator Nicholas. Here. Attorney Macy.
Here.
And Clerk Pazzo Catch to record the minutes. We also have DPW Director Joe DiStefano present and in the audience.
We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance then, and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Right, item 3 is appointment and swearing in of village officials. We have a discussion necessary action to appoint village board members. So the final act basically as town board members would be to appoint to all. Okay.
B right away, or we have to each one sit separately.
One motion to appoint the president.
So it would be the. Make a motion to appoint Paula Quinn, Mark Moonen, Linda Beal, and Rebecca Plotecker to be the first village trustees. Second by Mark Moonen. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And item B, discussion necessary action. I'm sorry, we'd have to swear and then. I was trying to just retire myself right over. Right, I'm trying to skip over that.
We noticed that.
Then would someone like to make a motion on village president?
I'll make a motion to approve Joseph Osterman as village board president.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, then item B, discussion necessary action to swear in village board president. I, Joseph Osterman, have been appointed to the office of village president in and for the village of Lisbon, but have not yet entered into the duties thereof. Swear that I will support the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin, the Constitution of the United States, and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my abilities. So help me God. All right. Item C then is discussion necessary action to swear in village board trustees. It's all of you. It's up to you.
Sure. I, Paula Quinn,
Village trustee.
have been appointed to the office of village trustee in for the village of Lisbon. And have not yet entered into the duties thereof.
Swear
That I
I will support the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin
and the Constitution of the United States. And will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. So help me God. Do you need these signed, Kathy?
All right. Item D then is discussion necessary action to appoint and reaffirm the following village officers. Administrator Kathy Nicholas, Clerk Lisa Capazzo Catch, Treasurer Natasha Gerard, and Assessor Les Arendt.
I'll make a motion to appoint all four as presented.
Is
I'll
there-
second.
Second by Paula. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Thanks. Item 4 then is comment from citizens present. Does anyone wish to make any comments tonight in the audience? Anyone on Zoom? Doesn't look like it. All right, item 5 then is the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered in one motion unless a village board member requests that an item be removed. We have approval of the January 23rd, 2023 regular town board minutes, adoption of resolution 2023-01 related to salaries of the village board members. Approval of the carryover of town officers benefits to newly appointed village officers, and reaffirm the town contract with Growth Appraisals will transfer the village term ending 12/31/2024. Does anyone wish to make a motion on that? Do you want anything removed?
I still make a motion to consent agenda being A through D.
All right, moved by Linda to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mark. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item 6 is accounts payable, authorizing the payment of the Falls Auto Parts bill in the amount of $419.52. Is there any questions or comments, or is there a motion on item A?
I'll make a motion to authorize payment of Falls Auto Parts bill in the amount of $419.52.
Moved by Paula to approve. Is there a second? Second by Linda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Item B, authorizing the payment of the remaining bills in the amount of $132,250.73.
The top 5 expenses are $18,936.79 for community building inspections. $16,395.50 for Trumbull Engineering Group, $14,334.25 for the Waukesha County Treasurer, $10,573.89 for Lee Energies, and $10,567.36. All for your approval.
Any questions or comments, or is there a motion?
And motion is so approved.
Moved by Linda to approve. Is
Not to exceed $132,250.
motion by Linda to approve, not to exceed. Is there a second?
I'll second.
By Paula. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item 7 is announcements and correspondence. We have a Parks Committee meeting on Wednesday, March 8th at 5 p.m. at the Village Hall. Actually, that'll be at Richmond, won't it? It's gonna be here. Okay. Village Board meeting, so that'll be here then, and then the next Village Board meeting then is on March 8th, also at 6:30 here at the Village Hall. We have a Public Works and Utility Committee meeting on Wednesday, March 22nd at 5:30 p.m. at the Richard Young Fire Station. And then we have a Plan Commission meeting then same day on March 22nd at 6:30 p.m. also at the Richard Young Fire Station.
Just a quick correction. The public works and utility committee was at 5.
5 o'clock. Okay. All right. Anyone else have any other announcements or correspondence? All right. Item 8 then is administrator report.
So I attended the last town association meeting. They covered fire fees and how to move from using levy for our fire services to fire fees. Worked on ordinances and resolutions that are in front of you today. And I started, the staff has started changing anything that states town to village, such as the website, building inspection form, and PPP form. Worked on a grant for invasive species. The deadline was 2 to 3, but was unable to complete that. PPW fixed our plastic on our windows and did some insulation to try to keep it warm in the office. I held 3 exit interviews for 3 of our full-time fire department members. And I'll send out the department reports as well as some utility reports to all of you tomorrow. That is my report.
All right, any questions for Kathy?
So we had 3 people on the fire department leave. Yeah. Okay, and we've backfilled them with the new people that we just swore in last time, so we're fully staffed there?
No, we are understanding.
Okay,
Michelle, Michelle was obviously involved in all of that. Was she involved in it,
And
interviewing people?
she works with the police and fire, commission on interviews in their process.
They've started a hiring process now,
Okay, that's what I'm
but it's gonna
confused.
take some time.
Yeah. Have you ever done that before?
And interviews. If
No,
somebody-
not exit, but.
That's all I did.
Oh, then I got you, I'm sorry. Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Kathy. Item 9, new business A, discussion necessary action regarding adoption of charter ordinance 2023-01.
In front of you, you have two ordinances, two charter ordinances. The only difference between the two is one ordinance has abolishes the marshal and constable, and the other one abolishes only the marshal and keeps the constable as employed. You have for your discussion.
So I think the first question is gonna be, what's the benefit / negative to each?
So at our last board meeting, we discussed abolishing both.
Mhm.
We have the sheriff's office, doing our police services. And, the discussion came up on why that you may want to keep the constable in order to allow appoint maybe somebody like the building inspector to do our non-compliance citations. That was the discussion, so I said I'd bring back both, so we can approve one tonight. So we have 60, this doesn't go into effect for 60 days, this charter ordinance. So if you have any minor changes, we can make those, that I ask for your approval.
All right, so we have the two options here. Obviously, if there's any other concerns in the charter ordinance, now would be the time. So I guess the first one is, what would be the will of the board as far as keeping the constable or not?
And we really never appointed anyone before.
Not in our tenure, no. This was years and years and years ago.
Do we really did it?
I don't believe so.
so all the duties that the constable will be handling are handled now through
Our contract.
our contract, so. And it would be somebody that if we did put one on, it would be a salary and it would be, I mean, it'd be like a full-time person that would be on there, or would that be a part-time? How would that work?
I think that would depend on when you decide to move forward on part-time, full-time concept. If you were gonna get rid of our contract with the sheriff's department and put a constable on full-time,
Yeah.
that's what it comes to.
Well, I think the relationship we have with the sheriff's department is good. Yeah.
Mark, what's your feeling on it?
I would just ask council, if we abolished a position, we would have to bring it back by just a resolution of the board? Is
No,
that-
by amendment to the charter ordinance.
Okay, so it's
So
not,
right now you have, I was you give examples different. You're going to a appointed clerk, you could go back to an elected. clerk. If you're of a mind to do. I'm gonna share with you my experience. It's been problematic when you've had the wrong constable, and I don't mean that it's negative as it sounds. Because if you read their duties and someone takes their duties really serious, there's a conflict between the sheriff's department. It says, cause to be prosecuted, all violations of law of which the constable has knowledge or information. When they say they have the statutory duties to run radar,
Mhm.
or they, I was shared, the administrator shared with me some of the discussion. And it makes sense to have a code enforcement officer that, you know, that you thought might be a duty of the constable. The problem is, if you keep the constable, we'd have to rewrite this statute in chapter 60 on constable to limit the duties by a charter ordinance. Can be very restrictive. Now, I happen to believe that code enforcement officers who don't carry guns should be careful going out. But I also have a problem with a constable or code enforcement officer who hasn't been trained as law enforcement, writing the reports that hold up in court, testifying in court. And no matter how well you train the constable or the zoning administrator, they're not trained like your officers are. And so when you get to court, I like to have the officer involvement in it. Other than just the code enforcement. You ask these poor code enforcement officers, you know, you're ready to go to court and you just panic. And rightly so, that comes over their face. They've never been to court. They don't want to be grilled by some, you know, defense counsel on the citation. And so I think that the thought process was good to have a code enforcement officer who maybe has some knowledge and knows how to write tickets and can save you some money if you're sheriff. Your limited hours that you have the sheriff's department, but we could train the code enforcement officer to do that. But I just always worry about having that extra person out there with a gun, saying that they're gonna, you know, sometimes be butting heads. And that's what happened in the communities where I was at, where they for a while kept a constable or a marshal, and then all of a sudden we had conflicts.
Mhm.
And I think Pewaukee was an example with that. They thought, well, maybe we can save some money, you know, by doing it. And it ended up to be because they want to take their job seriously. They want to do their statutory duties as outlined in the statute. And
There's
that's
a lot more liability on the village.
that's another good point. So I think the thought process was good. I heard the discussion was really good, but I gotta tell you, my experience is that they have way too many powers under the circuit court, you know, and attend any session of the circuit court in West Hidge or her county when required by the sheriff. The sheriff decides, you know, I don't want to send, why should I send one of my, you know, deputies to Muni Court, you know, to be a backup bailiff? They got a constable, we'll send the constable, you know, and then you're paying the constable, you know, to do that kind of stuff. And that's probably what you weren't envisioned. But if he or she, the sheriff says, you know, he or she's got to go, they're gonna go, hey, sheriff told me, statute requires it. That's the kind of gamesmanship, and I don't mean that negatively, but that's the kind of issues that we have to address. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you.
Very clear. I agree.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right, so is there anything in the charter ordinance anyone wants to discuss, modify, change? Are you happy with it? Look, I just want to reaffirm what, under 2-2 Village Board B, number 2. It is just stated that no person shall be eligible to be nominated or elected or to serve in more than one of the numbered seats or the office of village trustee of the village at the same time. So this does say you can't, if there is a trustee that wants to run to be president, they still can do that, correct? I just want to confirm this. They just can't serve in both capacities, obviously.
Can't be a trustee and run for another seat.
Which makes.
No,
it
you
make
can
sense.
run, you can't vote. That's the point, right?
But he doesn't want to run. No, as a president, he could be a trustee and run for president. They could be on the ballot as trustee and as president. Correct. You know, they choose which one. But if they are running, they can't run for trustee 1 and trustee 3. Thinking that they're going to be able to appoint trustee 3.
And if I understand this correctly, we all have to have 123 signatures to be a trustee for the next year. And then next year, Paul and I have to rerun for the position of we so choose. That's what even here,
With a lot less signatures.
right? Funny.
Let me check that. Isn't it the first year, because this isn't in place,
That the next, this first year.
but the top 2 vote getters, won't they get the 2-year term and the second 2 vote getters the 1-year term? On this election, because we don't have numbered seats yet, because the way Well, I mean, but isn't by default, that's the way it goes,
Who
because,
will have a one?
yes,
They're gonna keep
But-
the same.
but we don't have numbered seats for 60 days. And so they're all running at large, I believe, this time. And so,
Top four get full board. Become trustee.
right, so now we have to go to the next step. How is it discernible as to who are the two-year and who are the 1 year? Shouldn't it be the top 2 vote getters?
That's the state statute.
I think that's
I
right.
didn't see open stuff.
Well, because,
The seats aren't normally, the seats aren't required by statute. It's something that we're opting for in our charter ordinance. We could state that in the charter ordinance that the top two.
But would, because our charter isn't in effect when this first election takes place. So the trustees, number 1, 2, whatever it be, but. So is it that in the first election that the top 2 vote getters get the longer term and the next 2 get the shorter
That's
term?
what we're- yeah. Stating.
Cause then it wouldn't,
well, the other way, if that's what was contemplated, we could appoint, make another motion to appoint so-and-so to a 2-year term and so-and-so to a 1-year term, if that's what was contemplated. Then the ballot would show certain people running for a 2-year term and certain people running for. No, the ballot, well, I'm backing up and saying, here's your options, I think. When you appointed the positions that you just appointed, 4 people to trustee, we could modify that and say, X person is appointed for 2 years, X person is appointed for 2. Well, that's only till the next election regardless, right? That's by default at the state stage. Let me pull up.
We had talked about it reference having a 3-year terms instead of 2. Because that's what you can at a village board level.
You can't do that, because we didn't opt for that when we were going through the process.
I'm just kind of thinking about it now.
right, I thought when we talked about it, it was still in the paperwork, it still was 2-year.
Yeah, I know. Okay, 2 years fine. It was just when you, rather than keep going through this 2 year or whatever.
I think the only reason we talked about a different time period is because we were trying to figure out how to start the so-called race. Where do you start
Right.
to get that separation of years?
But I thought when you looked at the statutes, like the trustees, this number and that number always serve. Are elected on odd years and then even.
Right.
And then the village president is elected on another.
And that's in the charter.
2 years, but
That's part of the charter. Right?
that's it. That the president. Runs on.
Right.
Is there anything, well, John's looking at that, is there anything else in the ordinance anybody wants to look at or talk about? Make sure,
These are what we've always known, so I'm okay with that. Let's just, we have to do something for the attorney.
I would agree. Okay.
Okay.
So, but we may want to add something. Well, this doesn't make any difference.
I mean, it does state on C here that in term of office, the village shall elect for 2-year terms, and odd number of years, the village president, trustee, and 2 and 4, and then an even numbered years, trustee 1 and 3. So I mean, it does establish that, and it establishes the current positions held by Paula Markland and Rebecca Plotecker are these numbers.
But it really doesn't call it, when you think about it, it says the village shall elect for 2-year terms. And then it goes to say number 2 in even years, which is next year. Paul and I have to run. So we're not being elected for 2-year terms. For the ordinance.
For the first one. Because this
Right.
doesn't take an effect until after the election happens. So we have our first election falls under the state rules, which is at large. And it's how like Sussex does it, so. You have however many people run for those positions, the top 4 vote getters are elected. So if there's 10 people that run, the top 4
Yeah.
are elected. And you're not in a particular seat at that point.
Okay, I got you.
So in our charter ordinance, so we remove the trustees. The trustee seats. Remove the trustees' name. And then place the 2 top getters, vote getters.
Well, one thing that we have discovered over the years in the incorporation process, and as you know, we've had 3 or 4 of them, is the statutes don't answer all the questions. You have to try to make sense and follow a procedure and so I think we're at one of those situations. So I'll walk through where I'm at the moment, where we're going to be elected. And it's going to be theoretically, it's at large. Well, the top 4 we know have to win. That we can't do anything about.
Right.
So after that occurs, there will be numbered seats.
Because this would take effect,
Yes,
and this assigns.
but that's as of right today, that assigns. And so,
So the names would have to be removed
Mhm.
because when we wrote this, we were under the impression this took effect before the election, when in fact it actually takes effect after the election. So the names should come off.
Mhm.
Actually, that whole,
This would set the. Set the trustee, so we know which trustee is going to be. One.
assuming they win, because what if,
So we could we hold the charter until after the April election? No.
I mean, we could just, couldn't we just,
no. And then we'd have a problem that,
Yeah, we don't have 5 board.
But
well,
I mean, we could just do the top 2 vote getters get the longer term.
I mean, that's what, it sounds like that might be what statute is anyway, so we just have to word it that way, that the top 2 vote getters get the 2-year term and the bottom 2 get the
Well,
1-year
that
term.
sounds like what the attorney was
Right.
saying. I think that's
Yeah.
fine.
And then the president is the 1 year. Why not?
Wait a minute.
No, I'm
That's what you
talking,
think.
I'm talking initially.
This is the way the statute reads.
President is elected in odd years.
Is that
Your
under,
term, Joe.
but that's only
It's in
under,
Madison today too. I should have got on them.
that's only under 6119, correct? Having a populace of 750,000 in the county.
They're just stating.
19.
well, it says in villages and counties having a population of 750 or more, the officer's name shall be elected for a term of 2 years on the first Tuesday of April of each numbered year. And any other officer should be appointed annually, that's an appointment. But that's the president, the clerk, the treasurer, and the assessor.
Right, so
That's not the trustees.
the president is in an even year, that's what it says there. And we have it written under C that it would be the odd number year, that's the only reason I'm trying to clarify.
So technically, the village president would be a 1-year term now.
Pardon?
Is that only for the populations of 750,000 for Milwaukee?
I'm referencing 6119.
Let's mention our name, but there's no mention of you, Joe. Don't you agree?
Technically, we shouldn't have the names listed anyway for what we're finding right now.
Yeah, it could be 4 totally different people.
Exactly.
Who knows?
But you want 5. There's 5
Could be all-
seats.
Yeah.
First sentence says they're in the odd numbered year, and the next sentence says they're in the even number. Good point.
Correct. So I guess the way I'm interpreting it is, just to read it again, at the annual spring election in each village in odd number years, except as otherwise provided herein, which would then go to the next sentence and reference the 750 being in even years. So the way,
For the 750 would be even.
and we don't qualify for that, so we don't use the second part. So president, a clerk, a treasurer, an assessor if election of the assessor is provided, and a constable.
Well, the first sentence says odd number. Odd years.
So we're,
Right under
thanks for
C.
trying.
So you're running for a 2 year. That we've got settled. Now we have to discern how we're doing the trustee for this election. Well, the goal was to try to keep it the same. That was Kevin's goal, you know, the 1, 2, 3, and 4 being the numbered seats, right? Correct. And the odd numbered,
2 and 4 are in the odd years, and
1 and 3.
1 and 3 are in the even year.
So we just have,
Well, we essentially, if we want to do the top vote getters for at large, we would have to place it as village president, trustee 1 and trustee 2 in the odd number years, and then trustee 3 and 4 in the even number.
If we just change 2. Gaming seating, we just say. Trustee number 1. Go to the highest vote getter in April 4, 2024.
But there's nothing saying that you can't make 2 and 4.
I mean,
Yeah,
but
you-
I'm just saying that verbal.
Yeah, but you could say 2 is the highest vote getter. The seat and 4, because that's the one that you wanted as the 2 year.
right, you'd be basically saying the 2 highest vote getters will be seats 2 and 4 respectively, and then the next highest will be seats 1 and 3. I mean, that's what you gotta say, and then that's
Yep.
done. Make it happen.
Right back where we started from.
Becky's gonna be
Kind of a-
upset, because if she gets elected, she might not have her seat number. So you may not come out, if you do get reelected, you may not come out of this with the same seat numbers you have now.
All with the new things.
So Kathy, I think the wording, or Lisa, the trustee position currently held by Paula Quinn shall be trustee number 1 and shall be the person receiving the 3rd highest votes in the special election, or however we're referring to it. And then similar language for each of the others. Number 2 is receiving the highest number of votes. 3 would be,
3, 1, 4, 2.
you don't have to, I think she was just referencing, you know, what, because we're trying to, I mean, we talked about that and we didn't know how else to say, you know, the currently held by,
Yeah.
currently held by.
If it's
you know.
qualification.
The reason I put. It doesn't matter. Fine, but this is our first document of the village. I just thought that by putting you in, you've got.
Yeah.
some-
I have to ask, what if there's a tie?
You would ask.
Actually, that's a great question, but the clerks have methodology for resolving it.
Yes, I'm aware of it.
It's a choice of chance, you
That's a-
know. it's a
that was-
chance.
She was a tie.
Oh, we flip a coin.
That's right, that's
We
right.
would just, you know, we'd have to flip a coin or draw a card or whatever.
That way through card.
Okay,
So you have language then?
so the trustee position currently held by Paula Quinn shall be trustee number 1, and where we be the third highest vote getter. The trustee position currently held by Mark Moonen shall be trustee 2 and shall be the first highest vote getter. And then
Mhm.
position held by Linda Beal, trustee 3 shall be the fourth highest vote getter. And then the trustee position held by Rebecca Blotecker, trustee 4 shall be the second highest vote getter in the new election. Okay, everybody understands that?
Yep,
Yeah, well,
good.
Okay. So what time is next meeting?
But, yeah, I'm looking for the approval.
Oh.
With the correction and, allow. And then I will get all your signatures. And if you can approve it. With those, with the corrections. Discussed during the meeting and I'll get it for you.
Move to approve charter ordinance 2023-01 with changes that specified here at the board meeting tonight. And also noting that this is abolishing the marshal and constable.
My second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 4-0. Find my agenda. Thank you. Right. Item B, discussion necessary action regarding adoption of ordinance 2023-02, setting the number of village board members.
So, we spoke about the fact that, our charter ordinance was going to affect, until after the election, but, and the statute has for village board, 7-member board. That we wanted to stay with a 5-member board, so we need to, pass this, ordinance to allow for a 5-member board, so we can instruct the county clerk to follow the election. That is for a president and for trustees.
Any, everybody's good with it?
Mhm.
Anybody wish to make a motion then?
I make the motion we accept ordinance 2023-02 and as this. Verbiage.
Is there
I'll
a
second.
Second by Paula. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item C, discussion necessary action regarding adoption of ordinance 2023-03, repealing and recreating chapter 2.09 Lisbon Code related to village committees and commissions.
Then, if you wouldn't mind taking up these before we get into discussion. That's our non-lines.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
All
right. We're gonna move on then to item E, which is discussion necessary action regarding request for deadline extension to non-compliance order for the property located at North 51 West 26871 Carlene Drive.
So, Mr. Erickson is here. And, he had asked to come before the planning commission on a project that he was working on. During the review of the project, we found that we had 3 outbuildings that were permitted or in proper location. Property. Since then, we've had discussion with Mr. Erickson, who's been really cooperative, getting information to us on how he's going to rectify the permit. And, so he's got a driveway shed, and he has sent us a copy of the permit by his neighbor. He's going to be moving the driveway shed over to his neighbor's property.
Different.
Currently, it's on a neighbor's property, to be the east, and he is going to be moving it to his neighbor's property on the west. He's included a survey for us, so then we can see where that's going to happen. He retained American Landscape to do the foundation work and paid his home to move the structure over. The neighbor that is gaining the structure is going to be pulling out permits and so they will take care of that portion. And then, basketball court shed, they have again retained American Landscape and Patriot Homes to do foundation work and to move the shed over, so it's that proper offset from the property to the west. And then finally, the pavilion, he is going to have Wisconsin swimming pool, those submit an application. And they're going to start moving that document over to make the proper process. So Mr. Eric, once he found you, not only to work with myself and the building inspector to get into plans. And so today he's here to ask for an extension as being winters in the soil, although it's not for it's not able to be driven at this point, but it's to ask for an extension.
All right, well, thanks for your time. So the extension I'm gonna ask for the two sheds is until June at the latest. There's a possibility that it could happen in the next 30 days, but it's all weather permitting, like Kathy was describing. I had American Landscape out here today, me and the neighbor, they looked at everything, so they're gonna get a quote out and make that hire official. But the letter does specify that their goal would be to move quickly if they can. The mover, Patriot Homes, who has the heavy equipment to move the structures, it might be a little more tricky as well with the ground. So when he gets out with his heavy equipment, he needs to make sure that it's safe because it is down a slope. Both mine and my neighbor's yard is actually sloped, so he's got to make sure the conditions are correct. The other one with the pavilion, we're asking for spring of 2024. The reason for that is because I've been working with Wisconsin Swimming Pool Services for quite a while. We actually put a very significant down payment. I believe the date was August of last year, and spring of next year is as soon as we could get on. I have a paper trail of emails that ask prior to even knowing about these problems, if there's any way they could do it in 2023. And they said probably not, but they're not sure. So I met with them earlier this week again. They said they might have a customer who's pulling the plug on their project. So it's possible they could get us in 2023, but they wouldn't commit to a date. And the reason the pavilion is because that's all a part of the project for the pool, which I have all the plans. They gave me copies to give you guys if you really want to see it. Kathy has these copies, but it's a pretty big project, so.
But
I'd also-
structure is that?
That's the
20
pavilion.
And that's currently standing.
Yeah, that's a permanent structure that's currently standing.
Is that like the one that's off the southeast corner of your house?
Yes.
Is that this one?
Sorry. Go ahead.
I think that's what I'm asking for, those two different dates.
Did you originally install this shed that's on your neighbor's land?
Yep,
How long ago?
I want to say a year or two ago. I think the maps, what we were looking at for the just for the wetland scrape was 2020 maps or 2021, and it just got updated to 2022. Is that about right? Yeah, and they weren't on it, so it was within the last 2 years.
So you just decided to put it up without putting a permit or anything?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I had bad advice. I'm not anti-permit. I have so many permits with Lisbon in the last many years, including last year, I applied for several permits. The high school friend of mine who built that and the pavilion said that with a shed, as long as it's movable, it's not considered permanent structure. So obviously that's incorrect. I now know anything considered permanent is 6 days plus 1, I think. So, first house, live and learn. I also was ill-informed that the yard next to my yard is in fact my yard. I had no idea that that was not my land.
The pavilion that you talk about, what's the size of that? Here. When you say pavilion, is that just a? covered-
It's a shaded patio.
Okay, that's what you call it, a pavilion, but it's.
Yeah, I don't know what else to call it. You call it a gazebo maybe, or
Yeah.
it's a covered patio. There's no walls on it. It's all open space. There's 4 columns. The size of it is. It's gonna be close to that. I can give you the exact here in a second. I wasn't prepared for that question. But I do have a survey. I don't think I shared this with Kathy. It's 17.6 by 20.5. So I did actually have a survey where they plotted this on there. So it's off by a 20-foot setback by 3.5 to 3.75 feet.
I'm just curious as well. You won't have to wait until 24 because they can't put this building on. Where is this building going on that you want to put in?
The swimming pool?
Oh, it's. swimming
Yeah, I
pool.
can show you.
Well, as long as it's all correct and everything, it's an in-ground pool then obviously.
Well, that part of the land is sloped quite a bit, so. I think a lot of it's exposed and some of it's in ground. Is the answer?
So it's an above-ground pool, but just part of it is in the ground.
Yeah, I think that's the typography. We have all the drawings for all of that. But the pool is a professionally built pool by, they do tons of pools around here. They don't do like the above ground kind of makeshift pools.
Okay, so sounds great. That's all the questions I have.
Was asking for 2 days. June for the 2, the driveway and basketball court beds.
June 1st,
June. Yeah, June 1st.
is it?
June 1st. Just asking for that.
But you do realize you aren't going ahead with your scraping then until after spring of 2024.
I'm what?
You won't go ahead with your scraping.
Oh, the wetland scrape? Oh, everything in compliance and then that'll get approved. So you guys could approve the extensions to err on the side of me being conservative with actually meeting the new deadlines. And if it's done sooner than that, I can pursue this.
Get it all.
I'm only asking for these dates because that's what they told me. With Wisconsin Pool Services, trust me, we unveiled this as a kid's Christmas gift. So if we can get it done in 2023, that'd be all the better.
Have you investigated the potentiality of, at this point, picking the pavilion up, putting it on, the wheels that they're gonna move it and get it in a temporary location?
Yeah, it'd have to be torn down. It can't, because it's a permanent structure with mason work all around it. It's like real mason work around the columns. It would have to get ripped up.
So is it being ripped up either way?
If I have to move it, I'm being told I can't get a variance for the 3.5 feet, so yeah, they would have to rip it up. And then I would probably I'm being told I can cut the legs off and like salvage the roof.
You can hold back and-
Brian, the building inspector at our meeting. I mean, I would have to ask another builder, another opinion.
I just want to make sure you knew that, yes, obviously, if you get everything in compliance, they'll move ahead with the major grading permit and the scrape, CU scrape, but, I was wondering if there was another solution to the pavilion that wouldn't, a temporary solution, I mean, of storing that, yeah. It's not in the way of building the pool now, where it is.
It's a part of, it was the plan, that was the first structure of the pool, long-term plan.
So they were
So it's a
building,
part of the pool plan,
and now it has to be moved 3.5 feet.
green to 3.75 according to the surveyor, yeah.
And you have new sketches to show where they're gonna put it.
Yep.
But-
I did send it, yeah.
No, and
Um,
I'm just trying to find a solution for you that.
The other solution that my attorneys are pursuing that I can share, I think maybe they contacted you about this, Mr. Macy, I'm not sure, but, the farm next to me, that 40 acres, we're trying to get a hold of him. I don't think the village has been successful in getting a hold of him either. But, suffice it to say, he's very non-responsive, but if I can get a sliver of that land that I thought was mine, that would solve the setback by like 35 feet, 40 feet possibly. It's quite a bit of land that so there's his farmland, a tree line, then what I thought was my yard, and then my actual yard. So if that were to happen, then, I mean, perhaps that would solve the problem.
Well, originally you wanted to buy enough to keep the other building too, but that's not happening.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had a conversation and I think Brian on our June 9th call, our webinar that we had with Brian and everybody. Might have been misinformed because he said I could keep both because the third accessory structure doesn't have any walls. Kathy thought that that was perhaps not correct. Ideally, I'd like to keep all of it if I could get a hold of this guy and get this land. It's been like this for at least 17 years, by the way.
Allowed two structures. Two accessory structures. Even though it's not, the building, the gazebo doesn't have sideline, it's still considered a structure. So it doesn't fall into their square footage, is why Brian. But it does fall into the structure.
Unless it was attached to the house somehow, but.
Yeah, I guess what we would have to understand, of course, is what is your guys' definition of attached? A walkway, maybe, I don't know.
Building has. Remember you asked that to Brian, and Brian said, well, we're gonna be footing.
Yeah. Oh, it has to be an actual attachment. Yeah, not like an awning that's stapled to it. Yeah.
So it's been here how many years?
How,
How many years has that structure been there?
the
The
shaded patio,
pavilion.
the pavilion has been there. Well, the survey that I just found that has that are on there is 2020. So I believe that is probably year number one. So 3 years is my good.
So how long have you owned the property?
6 years, I think, 7 years. Yeah, when we bought it, like all that yard was manicured. There was a play set I just took down this summer. All that was entirely on their property, the apple trees we planted.
So just ask a question. When you talked about the bad advice, was that on the shaded pavilion or the accessory structure right off the driveway? On the neighbor's property?
That was on both. He did both of those. The other barn, the really large shed by the basketball court.
Nope, I'm just talking about the.
Yeah, okay.
Two up by
just
the
those.
house.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. I mean. Which is unfortunate because he pulled permits for several projects that I had done, like my deck was not to code. I don't even know how it passed, frankly. The basement, the roof, he's pulled a bunch of permits with you guys. I think he just lacked the knowledge. I don't, paying a few $100 permit fee is not a big deal for me, so it's certainly not it's trying to escape responsibility.
So my suggestion. Would be to approve the extension and driveway and shed. That's all, that June first. And then, have them come in June, say, our meeting in June, to give us an update on what's going on. Instead of granting it all the way out to 24. And giving you a second look at it. And then you can give us an update. And where is that?
Where you at with that, Mark?
Was this, I guess, how was this first started? I know this is in Brian's letter was brought to his attention, but was this a neighborhood complaint? Was this
This was,
I applied for a permit.
he applied for a permit. The look back permit and the place where he was going to set grading.
Yep,
But
okay.
Grading was actually on a building. And wasn't on the GIS system when they started it. And then right before they were coming to plan commission, the new GIS system came out and all these buildings popped up. So that's when we started the discussion.
Yeah, I guess I'm in agreement with staff's recommendation that the administrator just laid out. For me, it's I consider it based upon the neighborhood, also the neighborhood complaint versus just, it was discovered by way of administrative paperwork. Also too, I think we're within the ordinance to do it that way.
So I wish to put that in a motion.
Will that stand there with the requested action? Will that suffice if I read that?
It will if you say that he's got to come back to the June meeting regarding the pavilion.
What's the date?
Well, 14th, yes, Wednesday.
June 14th.
I don't mind the open-ended one.
Yeah. Yeah, I will.
And whatever you labeling that addressing the building as?
Pavilion. So we have a driveway shed and basketball court shed. We need an extension until June 1st, 2023. And an extension for the pavilion until June 15th, 2023.
I'll make them,
So you wouldn't have to, if he gets it done, he won't have to come to the meeting. He gets it all done.
Be just as easy, just to grant a motion and extension
Yeah.
until June 15th, 2023 for all of them and just be done with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take that language and make it a motion.
And I'll second that one.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 4-0. Thanks.
Thank you. Nice and simple. Joe.
Okay.
Yeah, I made the motion.
Okay, good job.
Thank you.
Really well articulated.
You guys want to work through the rest of the agenda that's after this and then go back to the committees? That might be the,
Absolutely.
okay. We'll go on item F then, discussion necessary action regarding bid award for 2023 pavement resurfacing the Wolf paving in the amount of $593,271.00.
All right, we had the bid opening a couple weeks ago. And as you see the bidding tabulation there and pricing and the recommendation letter from Conco. Yes, I won't sit here and blabble on, so if you have any questions, just let me know. So it was kind of laid out there. We're just giving you a location of the funds, which is on the page I provided. If you have any questions regarding any of that, just let me know. This is for roads this year. We have Hillside Road from the new roundabout that Washington County will be doing to where we chip sealed the road a few years back, which is basically right by the Lafarge entrance. Then Lindale East West, I call it. It's part of Lindale East, but it's the west section, which is on the west side of KF. It's kind of weird how they just split it up with that. And for whatever reason, that road was never done when we redid all the other ones, just rating wise, it didn't come in. So now it did. And I have some LRIP money. As you see there, 19,000 sets of grant that will go towards that section. And then Mitchell Lane was something we've been neglecting for many years because it was a possibility of the new border agreement going into Sussex. We just didn't know how that would all work out. So we just, obviously, we weren't gonna spend money on a road that we were gonna give away. So now that we know it's ours, it needs to be fixed very badly, very short, small section. And then the last part of that price we see there is in the main bid is the salt shed floor. So the salt shed floor will be asphalt and that will be done after the building is installed, which is getting talked about here in another item, but then they'd come in there and pave the floor just because we don't do concrete in there because you got salt sitting on it and salt eats, away at concrete in essence. So do asphalt and it'll last us a long time. So that's what's in the main bid, and then we're not even entertaining the alternates just due to the cost.
Questions? Anything for you, Paula,
I'm good.
Linda, Mark?
How did the prices, are the prices coming back down?
No,
No.
not yet. The asphalt unit pricing was pretty significant compared to, what I was used to when they were 55, 60, and now we're hearing numbers of 70, dollars a ton. So it's kind of, I think, the nature of the beast right now. I don't know if they ever will, we'll see. Oil, everything else that goes into asphalt, but it's not crazy, but yes, they were higher.
Okay. My question on the funding end. So it shows that only 73,000 is coming from the sinking fund? Yeah, it's coming out, so this is an additional above what we budgeted, 73. I like the years when this came in the other way. We had a lot of
Yeah.
those.
Sure. Yeah, usually. Some of the other contractors came in really good being in the village here, and this year we'll. Got it, so.
So it's unusual for Ann Nolan not to be the,
Right, they're
Number one bid.
usually significantly lower than
right,
others, but
They didn't respond at all?
yeah.
They're on
quite a
there, they're
bit.
just not
They're
the lowest.
they're just not the low bid.
10,000 higher.
Yep.
Have we used, I guess, history with Wolf paving?
Not us here, but I have heard good things. I've heard actually crews they've kind of grown into a bigger road paving company than a parking lot paving company, let's say, and. I've heard things that some of their staff has been brought over from Payne and Dolan, some of the guys moved around, so they got some top notch
Okay.
crews.
So there's
what
not
I've
gonna
been
be,
told.
there's
And I
no
know.
worries there.
Town of Merton, I deal with Paul a lot. They just had a road done by them last year and he had no complaints, so.
No problem.
I just have a quick question, just from listening prior to the meeting and to this discussion. Are any of this contract contingent upon the other contract being approved later on this agenda? When he talked about the
Salt shed.
base of the salt shed. What if they decide not to build a salt shed? I don't know that they're not gonna build a salt shed. Oh, I just heard it came in so high that I didn't know if you were gonna proceed now or whatever. I just don't wanna make a motion to approve this contract. And then if the other one doesn't approve, what happens after this?
We have to reconsider this.
Or do we wanna move on and at least discuss the other ones before the vote is taken? I just, if I heard you correctly, sir, it's
You're right.
the base of the salt shed is
Yeah.
part of the road paving contract.
Correct, and it's in the
And
base bid, so you're not gonna be able to remove it technically if you approve it.
It's not an
Unfortunately, we did
alternate.
an alternate on that, but I was hoping, right, we're building a salt shed, which I really hope you guys approve that, cause it ain't getting any cheaper. But we'll talk about that when we get there.
Well,
Yeah, you got the lumber sitting, half of the project.
I'm not
Yeah.
Interfering with.
Totally
I wanna
understand.
make
You
sure
gotta go-
Legally, we don't.
Should we
approve
just
the
skip
Contract that then we don't need.
this temporary? Come back to this?
We
one?
can hear it, and table it.
Well, we can
It's
pass
fair,
it.
pass it.
We'll just- we're gonna be all out of order. We'll go then,
It's only because I'm here.
move on to item H, just to this, at this point, discussion necessary action regarding bid award for erecting salt shed, Mike Koenig Construction in the amount of $331,000.
All right, so I would have hoped to seen more bids on that from what I was told, but I can tell you why we didn't get them. So we have the two. Yeah, it's a bit more originally, I think we, total was 525 to 550 for the whole 9 yards. And, this is not a whole lot more. I think we're at 230 for the lumber and you're at 330 for the plus the asphalt, but we're rolling that into the road. So you're roughly 550. It wasn't like it was 600, where I'd go, whoa, I mean, so he gave me a ballpark about 525 for that size shed and we're more, but you do realize when we started working on putting money away for the sinking fund on this shed, we were in 2018 or whatever, and a lot has changed since 2018, and we kept throwing the 50 at it, and every year it cost more, and it was like we were chasing the 50 grand every year, and now this is what we got, so. It's tough, but I wouldn't say it's out of hand, and you can kind of see where the numbers come out okay. We had a deficit of 6,094, and we've been doing that phases of the LED streetlight conversions through town or village, and that came in under budget this year due to just because it was the final phase and what was remaining, which is a bonus. I thought it was gonna cost more, but that's what I was originally quoted 3 years ago, and she sent me the invoice and it's about $7,000 under, so you can gobble that up right there.
Discussion? Mark?
I think, if we're worrying about $7,000, why don't we just assign that back to ARPA? That's it. So we're gonna take it, we're gonna take the deficit on this project from another one. Is that what I'm getting?
It's already in there. You're paying out of the same account kind of, so.
In the DPW. Capital budget.
But is that project hasn't been settled yet?
The LED?
Yeah.
I just sent, the check was probably just approved tonight, so it should be getting cut tomorrow.
I mean, you said roughly, it sounded like everything.
Oh, I mean, I just, off the top of my noodle, I didn't know, it was 3,900 something and we budgeted 11,000, so there's 7,000 and some change. That we would have remaining, so there's still even a cushion of about $1,000. After we use the 6,000.
And what was the borrowed funds again? We're using 102 for that. That's fine.
Linda? Hold on.
It's not gonna get any cheaper, right?
Well,
My,
You never know. but
actually,
I don't know if we want to gamble. Yeah,
right, because wood prices tanked.
yeah, I hear you now. And we already paid for that. Well.
Yeah, but we got them at a
paying for
lower
that.
price. They went up and. now
Yeah, we caught
come
that
back down.
before things went. through the
Right.
roof. It's tough. Yeah, you can shake the dice and roll it or, but I think
I
we're
mean,
here. Let's get it done, I think.
what's the erection date?
The plan will be, that was all in the bid, but I believe we had a completion date of September 1st or something, just so obviously it was done for the next snow season. But in essence, what I was told, these contractors do a lot of school work. So what they like to do is a job like this, they'd want to come in and get done in April, May, once the snow season ends, April, May, June. Kids are out of school, they move on to these school jobs and you wouldn't be able to get them back till probably September. So the way we did this, which seemed to work out well, we should be able to get them in there for April, May. This isn't a massive, it's a shell, basically. They're not, furnishing the inside or nothing. It's just a shed that's basically not finished inside. So should go up relatively quickly. There's some logistics I got to deal with on my end, demoing out the old one, which is currently has salt in it, so I've been working with Menominee Falls and the county as far as the temporary salt storage deal. We'll have to truck some there. It'll be emptied, have it demoed, excavated out for the new footings, blah, 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 build the new one, and then we can refill it. So the process, and then the old shed's gonna be going on auction. And hoping, the two quotes I got, which now are trash, but either way, we're 7,000 and 27,000 to demo the shed and remove it all. So my thought was, people out there looking for sheds all the time, and I did talk to Wisconsin Surplus, he said, oh yeah, they sell all the time, and I don't even care if we don't sell it per se, but we get a $5 bid on it, but it gets removed for nothing, that saves us a $7,000 bill or 27,000, and that would have to be rebid, but I'm just hoping that somebody's gonna pay for that lumber and come remove it. So there's logistics here where we gotta be, no more snow, remove the salt, remove the shed, have these guys come and build the shed, and you know what I mean? It'd be fun, be a busy little spring here.
So they really throw that off for somebody else to hold off of this.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I'll be out there with the hammer tearing the boards off and getting it off to the side so they can build the new one, but worst case scenario, we have the excavator, I'll start tearing it down and we could pile it up somewhere or whatever, but I'm hoping this plan works. But no guarantee. But I'll make it happen. Yeah.
I
Right?
love the idea of getting it taken away for free or getting something for it.
Yeah,
That's
like I said, if we got $0 for it, it was saving us money enough.
Right.
Because we'd have to pay somebody to remove it otherwise. So hopefully somebody can utilize it somewhere else. I know.
Okay. Any other discussion? Someone like to make a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve Mike Koenig Construction Incorporated out of Sheboygan, Wisconsin for a price of $331,000 and no cents for the correction of the new salt shed.
Is there a second? Second by Linda. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, there's nothing else on this agenda that's gonna have anything to do with the paving, correct?
Correct.
All right, back to
Not this paving anyways.
item F then. Discuss necessary action regarding bid award for 2023 pavement resurfacing to Wolf Paving in the amount of $593,271. Any more discussion on this? If not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Wolf Paving $593,271 and 0 cents not to exceed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Paula. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, item G, Discussion necessary action regarding bid award for the DPW Fire Department external repairs to Holton Brothers in the amount of $37,345. Joe?
All right, so sounds probably a little familiar to everybody. We worked on this last year. And due to the $25,000 number, then we took it to the bid process to do it the right way, obviously, and got some higher numbers that, were just tough. So we had to, put it back in the capital, play the game, figure out what we needed and redid it this year. So actually in a bonus, this quote came in, or this bid came in $2,000 roughly less than the number we had last year. So that was good. I'm comfortable with Holton Brothers. I met them last year out on site along with the other guy, which he was aware of the bid and he didn't bid. I don't know why. But it is what it is. So you see my numbers there, the 37,345 on the masonry. This is fire and DPW building, not just our side. Be painting the whole building. I have hard numbers on all that. I just threw estimates in there to tell you, but I know it'll be under by enough, $1,000 or something. I'm gonna come in after it's painted. I confirmed my painting number and my gutter number that I had received in 22. They're all holding those prices for 23. So we're good to go. So this is pretty cut and dry. I'd say we're under budget and we'll be able to get it done this year.
Discussion from the board, anything follow for you? Linda,
I think we're good.
Mark?
So just a point of clarification, we're only looking to motion on the 37,000.
Correct.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we accept the bid award for the DPW / fire department external repairs by Holton Brothers in the amount of $37,000, not to exceed $37,345.
There's a second?
Second.
And then Mark, any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, item I, discussion necessary action regarding bid award for Lake 5 Bike Path to Property Solutions Contracting in the amount of $135,375.
All right, I will let you guys defer on this a little bit, but I will just lay it out a little bit. Last year, we put it out the bid was late, then we would obviously like to see. So a lot of these asphalt companies were already tied up for all of 22. So there's no way they could even fit this in. We did receive one bid of Pablaki last year. I want to say, if I remember right, the number is darn close to the number he gave us this year. So $198,000 last year. Obviously, we know how much we had with the grant and we put in blah, blah, blah. So that was pretty high. You guys said, let's just rebid it out next year. We went to the CDBG committee. I went to the meeting with Conco. We got them to extend the grant for a year. And here we are. So nice thing is we got 4 bids, which is good. Still a little higher, but definitely less than last year. So it comes down to, do you guys want to spend that extra money, to have this path paved? And you see there's kind of that $32,375 number that is not budgeted. So I don't have a dog in the fight per se. You have the paths that are all around this paved, and it's kind of that island gravel path. And that's all I can say. If you're familiar with it, Barnwood, Hardeman Meadows and Merton, the bug line are paved. And then we have a gravel path. So
Now, didn't you say last year though that your department is going to do some tree removal and the landscaping restoration?
that was possibility, which I don't know, did I take that out of there or not? Yeah, cause see, that's extra 14,700. So we're actually only asking for the paving portion, which is 135,375. If you look at that bid tab, they had $2,000 in trees and 14,700 in landscaping, which we didn't even bring to you guys. We just figured we would tackle that. But you gotta have, the tree work is basically staff, we already have saws and trucks and
Right.
staff, so no cost really there. The soil end of the deal, though, we still have to buy soil, seed, mat, or we hydro seed it depending on how we want to do it, but there'll be a little cost of material that we do it, but we didn't even bring that to you. So that's strictly just to, unfortunately, have that path paved and asphalt.
How long is the path? I don't
Oh,
remember.
boy. I should know this, unfortunately. I know I have it written down somewhere, but if I'm gonna guess, Mark maybe he's shooting a quick number, but Well, I see him over there. He might be able to Google Maps, drag a measurement quick for me, but either way, I'd say quarter to half mile window, third mile.
Yeah.
Essentially, we received the CDBG grant of $75,000. And with the understanding that we were only going to spend about $28,000 taxpayer dollars from this project. And that has raised to $60,000, over $60,000. In addition, we will be still doing, our guys doing the work and the, and so. So at the last, when we had this last discussion, the discussion was, you know, where do you want to put the paving? Yeah, so, the other thing is what came in front of us this year was the snowmobilers, and we used that area, and we were concerned about how the snowmobilers will originally planned on, you know, run on our paved friendly area and figured out if you keep the area as it is, stone. Snowmobilers will have the path to, you know, get to the budget.
It's supposed to have so much snow on there for them to use it too.
It's,
6 inches.
Could you just go back, when you say 60,000, explain that again?
so we're getting the cost of this paving project.
Right.
It's $135,000.
Correct.
375.
Right.
We're getting a $75,000 CDBG grant.
Right.
$60,375 taxpayer dollars.
So we have to spend $60,000 of, now it's all taxpayer dollars or money from some entity, but the town would have to spend $60,375 to do this. We had originally talked that it could cost about $28,000 to do this. We were split vote on that. And now it's more than double. So we literally the only paved sidewalk in the entire village of Lisbon.
And the only thing we use by don't doing it is just we wouldn't get the,
Correct.
We have to get back
grant.
to grant, right?
So you wouldn't accept it, that's the next line, you would either accept it or not accept this grant. But you need to let CDBG go. Otherwise.
it seems like we're dealing with some other deficits and other projects. I'm sort of not in favor of picking up one on this either. We don't have to do it, right? We
We have
can,
a
we can do
path
it another
that's-
time when we're,
If the path is there, it's just stone. The only difference is it becomes asphalt.
so what does it cost us to maintain the path and with the gravel? Is it
Minimal,
Minimal.
very minimal.
And then would this path start at the, at the cemetery?
Correct.
Yeah, so it's 3,000 feet, or sorry, 2,700 feet.
So roughly half mileage. A little more than that. Yeah, about a half mile exactly, yeah.
75,000 it's a shame to give it up, but I have a hard time going 60,000.
Rather than give that personally, rather than give that 75,000 to a project that's gonna be used by more people than this one is gonna be used by.
Mike and I did have a discussion that there's a windy area on the hill, you know, from the bug line south and you go up Lake 5 and then it plateaus. Not with this money, you know, we can revisit this another day, maybe, you know, we have a paver, it's just, we don't have a means of getting, you know, we don't have the paver they were gonna bring to do a path, you know, our paver's made to go 8 foot up to 12 foot, you know, and through the woods there, it would be tough. But we did talk that maybe at some point, we could bring back something where we just get somebody to pave it for us from, you know, the bug line through that little tough area and up top, and then the, you know, highway parks project could either be cost and asphalt, we could get you numbers, but you know, eventually could pave it just then the rest of the way, because it'd be up in the flat and in the open, and it'd be easy to back down each way. But this is, yeah, can be done whenever, you're just losing that money for the grant, that's what they all have.
But isn't that, when you went back to them, they said they would hold it through 23? Or what's the? is there-
Unrelated projects, but that was, I mean, are you talking what I just said tonight? That was just for the paint and the gutters on the building. I never,
No, dude, it's 75,000.
oh, that was the grant. We got it extended through their committee. The Waukesha County has, she probably has better knowledge of that, but
Is it
oh,
all?
I think we just got it cleared through the rest of 23. As long as it was, as long as the project was completed in 2023, we were okay, but if it lingers, it's gone. We already asked once, it won't happen again.
How much is to pave a mile of normal road these days?
Well, the way we pave it, where we pulverize, you know, the whole 9 yards, you're looking at roughly 375,000. So. If you mill it where, you know, you're gonna mill down 2 inches and throw 2 inches on top of it, you're probably somewhere in that 150 to 2 1/4 range. But you get half the life out of the road if that, just because it reflects everything that you just basically were seeing prior. It slowly starts to come through where we do it. So it costs a little more, but you basically are rebuilding that whole road. And then when we pulverize it, we leave all the gravel there. So build your base up another 5, 6 inches. So you have another bit higher base and your road gets elevated a little bit. But you can tell by those roads we did with the $8 million borrow, how they're holding up pretty well.
Are you surprised that one of these bids came in so high?
Yeah.
The road I live on is one of the roads you did, and it's holding up very well, I have to say.
Yeah, you are right on that road, exactly. So yeah, it's doing well. I've been staying on the crack filling of all those new roads and they seem to be holding up well. And we're looking at already, you know, getting to 5-ish years on those roads, so. You get 20 in Wisconsin, you're doing good, so we're a quarter of the way there.
Everybody at?
There were some things that I considered, I was pretty much on the last figures that we got last year, I was pretty much absolutely against it, just because I thought it was way exceeding what we had originally planned. Some of the things I thought about too is, you know, there's gonna be continued development, especially on the Haas property, Twin Pines, would be 3. So there's gonna be increased traffic up that way. It is the major route in the west side of the village to get to a county highway to get out of the village. So the traffic counts are only gonna go up on Lake 5. So I did see it as an increase in traffic and pedestrian safety. If people are utilizing that path to access the park. I did consider the increased use of the park. You know, we talked, especially when we had the snowmobile discussion, is that people just aren't using the community park to the fullest extent. I guess this is one way to get them there. I also thought about increase the use of ARPA funds. We're not spending any ARPA funds on this, and I think based off the outlines of what the ARPA purposes are, it would comply with that. Not that we're bound to use it in that way, but fourth, I thought there's no other locations like this in town, so we'd be essentially starting a path and paving a path, and this would be the first one. However, we never had PUDs until we did it at the Miller Marriott subdivision, and people were very skeptical of that at first, and you wouldn't even notice a difference if you didn't talk about it in that manner. So I'm leaning more towards a consideration of approving it, since that number out of pocket, the deficit, we could cover with funds that were granted to us by the ARPA. Just my thoughts.
How much do we have left for the ARPA funds that are unspoken for?
940,000.
So we look at what, your idea, Joe, with maybe having, you know, somebody come and do the tough part, and then what it would, how that would affect the cost if we did the rest of it ourselves?
You can, I just don't know timing now, everything would have to go to rebid, you know, you can't take this bid and tell them only do half of it, you know, just for the legal part of it. I think they would have to be, we would take none of these, rehab Mitch, you know, and them drop something new and then have to go to rebid, so there's cost there too, but more or less, I'm guessing getting at, we're kicking the can down the road. Do we lose bidders again because their books are getting filled for the year? And then, I'm not saying Only because we have to do it this year if you want to capitalize on your $75,000
Yeah, I mean, if we're
grant.
gonna do it, I think we need that.
So otherwise, yeah, if you're have an inkling of doing it, this is the time to do it with the, I'll say it's not the right word to use, but the free money of 75,000, but because after this year, then it's on us 100% unless some other grant down the road comes around.
I mean, they can get there right now, it's just they're on stone.
Right. And I'm not saying they can't get there, but it's a lot easier to bring your children or stroller or wheelchair or wagon and bring the family down a paved path versus a gravel path that, you know, it is what it is.
Mhm.
How does everybody feel? Linda?
I'm still, I know we have 28,000 already budgeted. We have to come up with the 32,375. And that'd be a total investment of additional 60,000. For such a short area. Just, I have a problem.
Okay.
You know, I have to really think here.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't know that it's, I don't know that I would be in favor of doing it right now.
I think
Would-
Joe's got, if he would somehow work with him, do that. If you could talk to him and see, hey.
He's
what
not
is the
gonna have,
reason? No?
but he's
Would
not
this-
gonna have time to do that is the problem.
I mean, it would happen this year, that was more of a, if you guys didn't want to spend the money, we could look at an alternate option where we just get somebody to, with their equipment paving the smaller or the tough section, and then we could, but
Could we reapply for the CDBG fund? I mean, is that a yearly grant or is that we reapply for it?
yeah, I'm sure they could do it again. I don't know what all the costs were that for them to do this the first time. I'm sure it wasn't obviously free from Conkle to do it, but yeah, I mean, there could be an option to try again another year.
Do you ever get any, do we get any feedback from the community on this? Is there,
We did, that was one of the reasons why we considered 75,000. We went for the whole project and we didn't take the whole project. But the amount they gave us was because the people, Joe had put out signs on a path and said, if you want this path paved, contact this number and call the county. And they got caught.
Yeah, they did, and that's what helped us also get the extension. Otherwise, I don't think they would have been overly, they weren't. I don't know, didn't seem like they were big on extending out those grants, and they were pretty decent with it, knowing that there was a lot of positive feedback in the neighborhood.
so there was a possibility the grant could have been for more if there was more feedback from the community, said you tried to get the whole thing?
But we went for the whole
I-
path.
Honestly, I think it was only like 85 for whatever reason, because I was glancing at the numbers just the other day to get some fresh numbers in my head, and it was like, we requested 85. I don't, now you gotta think, and this again, just like anything else, was probably estimated 2 or 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Asphalt was different. If 85 might have been darn near covering the whole project. And that's what initially was presented to them. They just, for whatever reason, agreed on 75,000. And then we had to come up with the difference, which is growing.
Is there any other grant out there that we can apply for besides this one?
I'd have to look into that. I don't know offhand, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, the grant has already been awarded though, so
Yeah, I know.
you can't change your project.
Yeah, oh, I know.
So, I mean,
I
it
was
is,
just thinking
it's a
addition.
75 grand for this, or it's 75 grand back to the grant.
Mhm.
And they'll reallocate it at a different time.
I wasn't for this at 28,000, so
I
I'm
know.
definitely not at it, for it at 60.
If it was 28,000, I would, but 60,000, the extra 32 was kind of surprised. And to take that out of ARPA funds,
Just a thought, can we lessen the linear footage of the paving? Would that have to rebid?
yeah. for
I
sure.
think so. I don't, yeah.
Mm,
And this path was bid out in specs for ADA compliance due to the grant, so there was. Things that were done, to make sure it was a proper path, so it was the width and all that, so. I'm not even gonna say anything, because I'm not gonna put my foot in my mouth, but maybe if it came outside of the grant, maybe you could. make it narrower, there was an 8-foot rule because of, ADA compliance purposes. But I don't know. It's either I think you take it now or within the next couple of years, few years, I can work with Mike and we can look into a secondary option of some sort, but they're not, yeah, like what Joe said, this year is kind of already filled up with
Is there a
fun.
time limit on this bid?
I don't know I don't know. I mean, it's this year,
It
so,
sounds like, yeah, it's either this year.
I mean, you're gonna give them a month or two, probably. I'm sure if you could give them a little call, say, hey, they extended this, we gotta give you an answer. I'm sure they'd be okay with that, but I don't know if there's any legal stuff. Yeah. Joe probably knows better and Becky might have known. I think Parks Committee, always had their dream years ago when they initially even first put Johnny, I don't know that they had it paved. That's kind of how this all started. Otherwise, not that I don't want it paved, I think it would be nice, but it wasn't like me bringing it up. It was something, the ball got rolling elsewhere, I'll say.
I'd rather stick that 60,000 in the new play equipment
Sure.
at our parks that we need.
Mhm.
If I'm allocating money somewhere, but. No, I'm not gonna have a lot of positive about the path because I was never really for paving that path.
And that's the only path that's not paved.
Well, we
Well,
had
that's how-
developers pave the ones on there, like Barnwood paved theirs.
Right,
Merton, when they had development over there, the developer paved that,
right.
but there's no developer here. This is existing. I mean. I'm concerned of what's gonna happen in the future when it needs to be fixed.
Sure.
I mean, this thing dodges in between, back and forth in between trees.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is not
Yeah. And is it,
I-
is it a sidewalk then, or is it a, words escaping me then, when? Yeah, so you don't have to have liability for plowing it.
I'm a little, and it goes down, it goes downhill. I mean,
Mhm. Yeah, you're right. The maintenance is, obviously being new and done right, you're looking at a good 5-10+ years, you would hope that you wouldn't touch it. But you're right. I mean, just like a road, right? It's the same thing, your driveway. Eventually it needs to be crack filled, sealed, something. It's not free.
Just a reminder about some, we did buy the blower back in the road. So we already have the means to plow.
but then where does that stop next to? Do we stop at our lot? I mean, do they clear theirs? in Barnwood?
Barnwoods is cleared by a contractor. That is always plowed after an event. I don't know who they got doing it, but I always notice it is plowed right up to our path. And then Mike actually, with the last event, it's not a little tough with gravel and when it's not frozen, to be snow blowing it, but he actually snowblowed what he could to make it so at least people weren't trucking through 6 inches of snow. 1 or 2.
Okay. Well, we gotta come to some decision here.
I'm a no.
I don't know.
And also,
I'm a no.
You don't have a choice, really, do.
Never said what I was in the first place. I just said,
That's true.
I just said I was closer to accepting it.
I'll make a motion to deny the bid award for Lake Five Pass to Property Solutions for the amount of $135,375.
Second.
My mark, so this is a motion to deny. By voting affirmative, you are denying. All in favor of this motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item J is discussion necessary action regarding acceptance of CDBG grant for Lake Five Path in the amount of 75,000. I'd make a motion to return the grant to CBDG.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right.
See?
Is that where we're at? C?
Mhm.
All right, item C, discussion necessary action regarding adoption of ordinance 2023-03, repealing and recreating chapter 2.09 of the Lisbon Code related to village committees and commissions. So at this point, this is not discussing members, this is just discussing what the committee is.
We have had it package for review. We've gone through it a few times in open workshops. We want to start with the phase one. Was there any concerns on phase one?
I think I had was, I thought we were dropping the police and just leaving fire commission.
And the reason I kept it police and fire was because we thought the conversation then turned into what if we decided to not that was what was there in the future. That's the only reason I kept it. So I'm happy to remove it from the board.
Is it statutorily have to be called the police? And I was at one time told it had to be called that, but that is all here. That's just somebody telling me that.
And I think, I think we look to our neighbors too. They call theirs the Board of Fire Commissioners. Board of Fire Commission.
I'm good with whatever it needs to be named. I guess
I can remove it.
this is one we could change at any point in time too.
Yeah. I'll just change it to the fire commission. And I'll change that throughout the document. So that I can you're right.
Anything else on page one? Page two. Park committee would be the one. So I had some discussions with Marlene and Paul and I talked, and actually when Paul and I had left off discussing this, Marlene, and we had talked about potentially having 5 board members and 3 alternates. The Village of Sussex does actually have 7 members on their Park and Rec Committee. So I guess to be consistent with our closest neighbor, I guess I would be potentially in favor of 7. I don't know how everyone else feels. Paula, how you feel about that? Right.
Like you and I discussed, Joe, I know the people that are on the park committee now are really committed to it, so.
Right. So, and then we hits a little bit of discussion about having 2 alternates on there. They're not voting members. Because right now we have 9 people, essentially is what we have. So if somebody doesn't show up, they could be a voting member, but if everybody's there, that you can only ever have 7 people voting. There's a way to keep them involved. I don't know how everybody feels about that. It's something that could be, as members fall off, if at some point they could be eliminated too. It's, I mean, things are gonna change in the village as time goes on too, and, hopefully we'll be able to get some. Right now, I mean, this is everybody that volunteers for the most part, I believe, and we get some extra people, but I mean, the majority of the people volunteering are listed here, am I correct?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
So what's everybody's thought on the park committee then?
That's fine.
I think 7, yeah, I think 7 is fine. And the alternates, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay,
But
Mark, you good with that?
the one question I do have is. Can we call Marlene something other than a member?
Trying to be consistent throughout the whole.
Okay.
In your. Have like a volunteer coordinator. It wouldn't be part of the staff.
Okay, no, I get that, okay.
And also Marlene had talked, because I talked to her briefly about something, and this was brought up. She would like something with the Friends of the Park. And I know Paula said they're having a meeting, that they're gonna discuss a bunch of different things, so that's what, at this point, Marlene is gonna request Friends of the Park to have volunteer residents that like to do park work, come and help do stuff. And not to be on the committee,
no
but just.
committee stuff, okay.
And I suggested that, if you wanted to, the discussion was through while we
Mhm.
create this.
Sure.
Group, and that's great, we can have all these groups that help volunteer, but it's not part of the government. at all. It's
Exactly.
Outside.
And
group.
they're not paid.
Besides, they want to volunteer time.
Mhm.
The Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Friends of Bridgeburg Park, or whatever they want. So, it's an outside group. It's
Right,
not-
right.
it's
I just wanted to bring that up.
Not run by the town.
Okay.
It wouldn't have to have the agendas properly posted.
Okay. Okay. I'm not gonna have it. And I have a
Mark?
question about the board of review.
Well, let me just ask Mark's opinion on the park here. I haven't had a chance to.
Yeah, the only thing I thought of with having the larger number of members is then the number for quorum gets larger too. And yes, we have a lot of interest now in it, but is this a sustained interest or historical interest that we think we can have?
I'm hoping this is gonna grow, to be honest with you, but it's whether or not it's on the volunteer, not the size of a committee, no. I don't know who all other communities do it. I know Sussex was had the 7 members total. They also have a lot bigger events than we
So
do,
Heartland has 2 trustees and 5 citizens.
which is 7.
Pewaukee has 2 board members and 5 citizens.
7.
Plymouth has 2 village board members, 2 planning commission reps, 6 village board members.
There's 2 board members on each, from each on that committee. There's just 1 right now. I mean, I'm fine with being the only one unless you think there 2 need to be on there for whatever reason. No. Okay.
When we brought it up last.
So do we want to keep this at 7?
Yes,
I'm good with
It seems
that.
to be consistent with our surrounding communities.
yeah.
We can all, and this is something that's
We can always
changeable at any point in time. This isn't like we're doing a charter ordinance. I mean, 1 meeting could change this if need be. So, I mean, a lot of this is. We're Lisbon, we're not Sussex, we're not Pewaukee, we're Lisbon, so if
Just
some of this
fine.
doesn't work in a year, we're gonna have to revisit it and potentially change something. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just
Exactly.
how it is. Well, it's not a right, it's something we'll have to figure out.
Mhm. Right, Just
Okay.
a quick question on board of review up here. On number 1, I see that I'm down as 1 and Becky's down as 2. And it only meets once a year. I'd rather have Becky run the meeting.
So we'll get to that next.
Yeah. Board of
So right
Review-
now, we're just talking about the general makeup.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, this is the next thing we're gonna talk about.
Okay, that was my question. Okay.
But I think where Kathy's you elect,
Yeah, at during the, board of review, your first meeting, you actually elect who's gonna be the chair every year. But you change every year, you might, it
Or Matt.
doesn't have to be
Yeah.
you or Becky, it could be Matt,
Yes,
whatever,
I'm agreeing with that.
so.
And he's always done that. Yeah, okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
okay,
Anything else on page 2?
Mm-mm.
Sorry, I don't have page 2. The next is page 3, that has a plan commission on it.
Uh-huh.
nothing's changing really there.
Nothing's changed there.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. The joint Lisbon Merton planning committee stay the same. Is what we agreed to.
Fire
And
commission,
the fire commission. Will stay the same, 5 members.
One thing I saw with that one was, planning commission is a 3-year appointment. Joint Lisbon Merton Planning Committee is a 3-year appointment. And I thought I saw one more. Oh, a park committee.
Right, but the,
So this one's a 5.
we read about the fire commission, it was a 5, it was
statutory.
statutory 5. Otherwise, I would have changed it, just to be consistent.
But the village board member would not be a 5-year.
No, it's a term.
Per term.
Well, term.
Mhm.
And there's no village board member. Fire chief.
That's right. We talked about that, but we didn't
Yeah.
do that, that's right. Yeah.
Was that under 6213? Yeah, it is 6213-1. I know it's a city code, but
Well,
the 61 references the 62. I'm trying to catch it up to you.
Which was?
Yeah, it's a five.
Which one are you speaking of?
The fire commission.
Just being a 5 year.
All right, so we're good there.
Well, then on the next page, we have Public Works Utility Committee. Any questions on that?
Zoning Board of Appeals. Any issue with the way that's set up?
So I think all of the two fire commissions, the police and fire commission, make the one, the change on the parks committee to add two alternate non-voting members. And then change in the public works area. Yeah, it was planned. Anything else?
I have nothing. So I want to make a motion on this.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-03 with the changes just outlined by the administrator.
Is there a second? Second by Linda Beal. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, here, item D, next discussion necessary action regarding appointment of committee and commission members.
In front of you, you have a draft. A list.
Yeah, this isn't. All right, so. We'll just go on the back, so the joint planning. Lisbon Merton. Myself, Jeff Mouche and Kathy. All three are voting members on that. It's recommending body. It's not binding by any means. Everybody good with that one? All right. The park committee, Paula, the chair. Then Marlene. Danette. Ed Nelson. Kelly Dennison, Tracy Van Alstine. And Brad Tremmel, and then Paul Normington and Colleen would be the alternates. You good with that, Paula? I think
Everybody's
all of
always
us
there.
are
I might flip Ed and Colleen, but
Ed to an alternate?
yeah. Cause isn't he on the plan commission too? Is that gonna be a lot for him? No.
Well,
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay. Never mind. Okay, no, it's good the way it is.
Okay,
We're good.
that's good.
everybody good with that then?
Yep.
Mark, you good?
Yep.
Fire commission. So Darren, the ones that have already been on it were Darren Becker, Ed Brocker, Bruce Worth, and Tim Ziegler. I am asking to then appoint Joseph Hoffman to the fire commission in place of one of our other members. That was Dennis Plotecker. Joe Hoffman was our fire commission president for a while. He's very knowledgeable. The only reason he came off the committee was because he moved. Well, now he's back. So he's very, very knowledgeable. And between Darren and Joseph Hoffman and Bruce Worth, I mean, and Ed, I mean, it's a hell of a committee, to be honest with you. I see it as a very, very strong committee that way.
Okay.
Okay, you good with that,
Mhm.
Paula?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Did you do an audit?
No,
No, we're
that
doing
was,
front.
We did the easy ones. All right, so that brings us to the Public Works Committee. So the members being Mark Moonen, Linda Beal, Jane Miller, Joe Everly, and Dan Pliss. Pliss or please?
Plus.
Pliss.
Well, I've never heard of, well, Joe, yeah, but Jane. Have they ever been on any committee?
Jane Miller,
So,
go ahead.
yeah, Jane is the utility director for the city of Pewaukee. She's a Village of Lisbon resident. And I know she'll make a great addition to the
Okay.
commission as far as the public work,
And she lives in
utility.
Lisbon.
She does.
And they've agreed to this?
Yeah. And Dan, Price, he's got 20 years in utilities. He's with his, Shorewood and he's currently at the Southern. So, he will be a great.
So. We suckered Joe into this, so,
I mean,
and we suckered Joe into this, so.
all right, Joe.
Says,
People that really know.
Okay. Okay. And the question that I've got for you though is that I have no problem meeting the fourth Wednesday of the month. That's perfect. But why can't we meet here?
For the reason.
I would like to meet here.
The only reason and we can, if that's where you want to meet, we can meet, we did it right before a plan, right before the. Public, the,
Plan commission.
plan commission. So if you were going to stay for a plan commission joint meeting, you would just stay. You wouldn't leave.
This was a money saving thing, to be quite honest with you,
Oh,
because
really?
if the engineer is already there and everything, they're not, they're just there.
I can't Now I see it, but I think for me, it's here, but I
Sure,
understand.
but that was the reason. It wasn't just a arbitrary thing. It's just because to get everybody set up in one location and
Okay.
just,
Is that okay with your work schedule? 5 o'clock?
Sure.
Okay.
so. Then the fight to the death would be who's gonna be the chair and vice chair. So we have the arena ready. I'll throw this in and you guys can go. It's-
Such a good talk, Mark.
So the difference between chairing essentially is you read the agenda
Right, exactly. I know.
and then staff usually takes over.
Doesn't make. it
We had to put somebody up there for this, so that's what it is. So I guess what is
Okay.
the preference between? I mean, if Mark doesn't want to do it and you want to do it, or you don't care. It's,
Doesn't.
okay,
Wherever I'm needed and help.
it's not I mean, everybody gets as here. I hope everybody feels they get the same amount of say.
Yeah. sure.
I mean, I really hope that's the feeling everybody gets.
Mhm.
Hopefully on the plan commission too.
Okay.
So is everybody okay with the structure that's set up?
Am I the only one? Well, Mark's in the district, but he's not hooked up. I'm in the district, I'm not hooked up. So these other 3 are not in the district, correct?
They don't have.
They don't have to be.
I know that, but I'm just double checking.
I'm not sure where.
Jane's on Plainview, if she lives in the same place she did.
And actually, I'm in the district. I'm just not.
That's what I said, you're in the district, but you're not
So-
hooked up. Because I know that's what the original things for the sewer district, we all had to be in the district. That's the only reason why I'm saying that.
Yeah, no, I mean, the utilities village wide now.
No,
So
no,
Yeah.
you're right.
all 5 of us are good to roll.
And I will say the Village of Lisbon still has more money invested in sewer pipes that we haven't used yet than.
Yep.
We have a lot of money invested in sewer that hasn't been used in everything else, so the village is definitely on the hook for a tremendous amount as a whole.
Now, I haven't spoken with Mike. Because we won't have our next meeting now, the 5th.
I've done it.
So we
So this
don't have,
would work for.
so we don't have to meet to sign checks before that, like we did last month.
The approval of checks.
And-
The same,
Okay.
and the signatories on that account are changing. So you won't be able to sign any longer.
That's fine with
Chairman
me.
and
President.
chairman President.
We're putting a quarter jar up here. Every time someone says town or supervisor, it's 25 cents.
No problem. Makes sense.
So, and the treasurer, and just like all
Okay,
So what it says Mike Sargent, staff, admin and DPW director.
that. It's just the people that will be available during those meetings.
Mike for sure would be there.
Mike was for sure.
Right.
right.
DPW is, he's the one that would bring anything that's coming forward in DPW. If there was anything in the utility area that.
Okay.
Kind of like
You'll
what
have-
you just talked about with the salt shed and stuff, all that discussion you would have had.
Right,
You'll-
Across your recommendation.
Kunkel there. Don usually attends a lot of the meetings.
right.
Okay,
Right, guys.
so we're good on the public works and utility?
Perfect.
So add that.
All right. Plan commission, so this is an existing one that I'm asking to make some changes on.
Mhm.
I'm asking you to appoint myself, Becky Plotecker, Brian Elephant, Joe Eberly, Jeff Mouche, Sherry Howard, and Sean McCormick. Those are the members I'm asking.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Sorry.
I did not think it was gonna have that kind of reaction.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Short break.
Start.
Or when I mean, I have to follow them.
It just got a,
Sure.
no, that's, I shook it off.
That's just the case.
That's-
It'll be all right.
It's on your purse a little bit.
Is it?
Computer there. No, computer's fine.
Okay, thank you. Is that enough? You want more? No, this is fine. Sorry. Yeah. Everything okay with that?
No
Have you
problem.
recovered from my request? Have you recovered from my request?
Okay, you want to start over on that one, Joe?
Yeah. Got all over.
So, I mean, I have the members listed. Does anyone have any questions on any of them? Anything? I mean, this is the most important board we have. This is the most important board we have.
Yes, I agree.
So,
I'm okay with them.
Okay.
Mhm.
Paula,
Yeah, I'm good.
Mark? Okay. So the two newest board members, we have the shortest term also. So, they're aware of that. They get a tryout year.
Mhm.
All right. Zoning Board of Appeals, we have Becky Plotecker, John Gerke, Prosper Famerstill. I sometimes screw up his last name, sorry. And then I'll alternate Charles Cook and Dennis Plotecker.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay.
Board of Review,
Mhm.
Linda Becky, Matt Gerke, and then alternate of Joseph Metzinger and Jim Krause.
Perfect.
All right.
Is it Banner?
Banner still, Hammer still? I don't know.
I think it's-
Sorry, Prosper.
I'll check it out.
Sorry, Prosper.
I think it's two.
Up a-
One and another. Okay, and I'll check.
Prosper's kind of been like Madonna. It always just had the name Prosper.
Up in North Lisbon, right?
Yeah.
So if you approve these members, we will contact each one of them, and let them know, and then they'll come in to do their oath.
Okay. I make a motion to appoint the list of committee and commission members before us.
I so second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. I think that's it.
Yay.
Ooh,
Item 10 is adjournment.
don't we have to set the next meeting?
Yes.
It's set.
I mean,
It's automatically set.
March 8th.
The fourth is the second. Wednesday.
Just telling you in advance, I'm not gonna be here for that one.
Did we make a, did we make a motion for adjournment?
Not yet, somebody's gotta do that. We wanna stay apparently.
I'll make a motion for adjournment.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You're out at 8:40.
Kathy, it's for that name. EFANNER.